Hello, I'm Viviana, and welcome to the MYC Talk Show. We're here with our guest, Ken Massey from the City Council, Farmington Hills City Council, and Allison Rich from the Farmington Hills Mayor's Youth Council. So today we're here to talk about emergency preparedness. So, what is Emergency Preparedness Commission, and what does the commission do to help the citizens be prepared for an emergency?
Well, as we start, thank you for the opportunity to come and talk with you about emergency preparedness. The Emergency Preparedness Commission, also known as the Citizens Court Council for Emergency Preparedness Commission, which is its long official name, we'll just call it the EPC for short. The Emergency Preparedness Commission was founded in 2002 after the events of September 11th occurred. It was started by then Mayor Nancy Bates, and it's a group of volunteers from a variety of sectors across the city. We've tried to get homeowners groups, so there's a representation from the Council of Homeowners Groups. We've had the faith-based community as a representative there. We have an individual who participates, his passion is ham radios, so he's on there for communication. We have folks on there that are experts in the IT realm, computer communications. We have neighborhood watch representation and so forth. There are 17 total members of that, and Allison represents the Mayor's Youth Council because we need the perspective of our youth on this commission. The focus and mission of the Emergency Preparedness Commission is to provide individuals with information that they need to prepare for an eventual the occurrence of an emergency in their lives. And emergencies can be everything from something that's very small. You're in the kitchen cooking and you lacerate or cut your hand. That's a small emergency. If you need to have stitches, you need to stop the bleeding, and so on and so forth. People think that is small. All the way up to very large scale events. We hear about tornadoes that have hit other parts of this country. Michigan is fraught. We have a large number of tornadoes in the months of April through August. They usually occur in the afternoon, but particularly in the spring, we have a number of those. And a tornado or other large scale emergency can cause the emergency response system, our first responders, our police officers, our firefighters, to actually be overwhelmed. And they have to go. You may have, at your home or my home, we may not have electricity, we may not have water, we may have something else that's occurred, but we don't have a life-threatening emergency. So we have to be able to send our first responders to those people who have life-threatening emergencies, and the rest of us have to be able to take care of ourselves for up to 72 hours. That's the key number, up to 3 days. And the Emergency Preparedness Commission, their mission is to get you the knowledge, to get you, to help you find training for specific skills, or just where do you get the supplies that you need to help you out with those, and do that so that our community becomes a community of prepared citizens.
So Allison, why did you join the Emergency Preparedness Commission?
Well, I really joined so that I'd be able to help people, and as Dr. Massey stated, the whole point of the EPC for short is to get information out to the public about how to deal with emergency situations and how better to help people than to give them the information that they need.
So how can one prepare for an emergency?
Actually, first of all, preparedness is a mindset. You have to be prepared. You have to mentally be prepared. You have to know that I have the skills, I have the supplies, and I have the ability to take care of myself, members of my family, and then ultimately members of our community for key events. And the way one gets prepared, 90% of preparation is knowledge. There's a small amount of small amount of materials that one needs to bring together so that you have those things in the event of emergency. And then sometimes there's a skill set. For instance, talking about one skill, first aid skills, how to stop bleeding, how to splint a fracture, how to do CPR if one needs to do that. And those are skills that one can pick up along the way. And the EPC provides opportunities for learning all of those things that you need.
Oh, yeah. So what did you learn on the commission?
Well, I've learned a lot. For example, on the commission a couple of months ago or so, we had a man come in and talk to us about train safety. And you would think that it would be pretty straightforward, train safety, stay off the tracks when the train's there and just don't get hit by it. But I hadn't realized before joining the commission how imperative knowing about minuscule details like that were, and I actually learned that quite a few people are still not quite clicking into the fact that you're not supposed to be on the track when the train comes. So things of that nature.
Yeah.
It actually, to that end, that was a very informative discussion that we had in the number of people that are killed trying to get across the train crossings because they underestimate how fast those trains are moving.
Yeah.
And, I can beat that, I can get around. And one of the things that he talked about is that in the cases where you have two sets of tracks, person will come up and they'll look to one side and they'll see there's a train coming, so they stop at the track. And train goes by, they think it's all clear, and they move forward, and there's a train actually going the other way. And they have an accident with that train. And it's just being aware that these things are going on. Those types of skills and awarenesses are what that's a great example, Allison, of the types of things we're trying to bring out.
Yeah. Seems very helpful. Stay off the tracks.
It seems simple, but for instance, when I was doing my fellowship, I was in the university. Did my fellowship at the University of Arizona, which is in the desert, and I was amazed that every year they have an average of 9 people who drowned in the desert. And the reason they drowned in the desert is because when they tell you don't drive across water that's crossing the road, it rains up in the mountains and the water gets running so quickly that it can wash a car away immediately. And people drive into these things and their car disappears. You would think that information would be just straightforward.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that, but it happens every year. So depending on your community, there are pieces of information like that we want to get out.
Yeah. So where can one get some information on emergency preparedness?
Oh, great number of places. We've tried to make it as simple as we can from the Emergency Preparedness Commission standpoint. We set up a website. It's attached to the city website. So if you're on the City of Farmington Hills homepage, there's a link to our Emergency Preparedness Commission, or you can go to it directly with fhready.org.
Yeah.
And there on that website are a series of documents that go through all of the very common types of emergencies, that particularly the kinds of things we'd like to get information out around here, things that affect us here. Tornadoes, for instance. How to prepare your 72-hour kit or your ready kit. Those are all linked to right there. We meet the first Monday of every month, and we invite the public to come to our meetings. They're open meetings. They start at City Hall at 5:15, run until about 6:30. We talk about information there, and every month we host an event. The one that's coming up later this month is pet preparedness. How to take care of your pets or prepare your pets in the event of an emergency. We have just had a women's self-defense seminar, how to prepare yourself and actually the best part of it's more street awareness, how to not get into a situation in which you have to use those techniques. We've hosted basic first aid awareness seminars. And all of those are scheduled and linked to on our website. And then there are a number of other places one can go as well. If you want to go to the Department of Homeland Security, and there's a ready.org is another commonly used website. It goes through all the kinds of preparedness for the average citizen.
Oh, okay. So what kind of programs are there to get prepared for emergencies?
There are pretty much the same ones as for adults as well. You'll find that any program that wants to teach adults how to prepare for emergencies will also be more than willing to help out teenagers who want to know about it as well. So as Dr. Massey was just saying, there's things on how to take care of your pets during emergencies. There's the women's self-defense class, which I actually participated in as well one time. It went very well, and it really enlightened me.
One of the fun things that talking about young people, as people start to gain the awareness and what do they need to do to be prepared and really get into that mindset. One of the fun things to hear about are how young people will look at their home and they'll see, okay, we need a fire. We have to have a fire drill. We have to have a plan. What if we have a fire at home? And don't leave it up to your folks. You can actually plan escape routes and have fire drills at home, particularly if you have younger siblings. You can teach them how to get out of that situation, where you have a common meeting ground outside of the home so that you can ensure that everybody got out. You can do those kinds of things for severe weather drills. There are lots of places youth can get involved and take a leadership role in their families with this.
Yeah. So what you do if you hear an emergency warning?
I'm going to assume you're talking about the emergency warning that you would hear outside.
Oh yeah, like tornado and all those warnings.
The outside severe weather warning system that we have 9 of these large sirens that are positioned around Farmington Hills. You only hear them for severe weather alerts, and it used to be only for tornado warnings. Now it's tornado warnings and straight line winds above 70 miles an hour. So both of those are the times that they would turn those sirens on. They don't use them for any other kind of civil defense warning system and other things. They test them from March through November on the first Saturday of every month, with the exception of the one time in April, which is severe weather awareness month, and they test it on a Wednesday. That's a little odd one, and if you don't tell people, the police department seems to get a lot of phone calls about why is this going off and it's a bright sunny day. But that said, what you should do, and it's an outside warning signal, you're not generally supposed to hear that in your home. If you're outside and you hear those sirens go off, you immediately seek shelter. If you have a basement, you go into the basement. If you don't have a basement, go into an interior room away from rooms that have a lot of glass. Interior bathrooms are usually the best. Or ideally, most of us around this part of the world have basements, so that's where you want to go. But it's to seek shelter immediately. If you're in a car, you don't want to try and outrun tornadoes. It doesn't work out so well. You're supposed to, at that point, stop and probably do the most unintuitive thing, which is to get out and get into a low-lying ditch, so that you're not a victim of flying debris.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what it's there for, is to let you know when you're outside that something's happening.
Yeah. Oh, listen for that.
And listen for it and be aware of it. I can share a funny vignette with you, and that is that my wife and I live off of a golf course. And I can tell you that I'll hear the sirens go off. I've heard the sirens go off a couple of times. And you'll see people out playing golf, and they don't want to stop. They'll actually look up and go,
we can finish the hole.
Yeah, we can finish this one. If those sirens are being set off, that's not the time to try and, that birdie putt's important, but it's not that important. You need to seek shelter immediately.
Yeah. Okay. So how can teens be prepared for emergency situations?
Mainly just know what's going on, have a plan about what to do. If you don't know what's going on, then it's kind of like, okay, let's figure everything out at once. So let me go grab the cat. Let me go grab the 72-hour kit if I have it at all. Let me go jump out the window so that I can get away from the fire. Well, that's probably not your best idea. So just to be prepared and know what's going on, have a plan.
Yeah.
And I would second everything that Allison said. It's having a plan. It's having thought through that plan, having the 72-hour kit prepared, and when something occurs, and emergencies can happen anytime. That's the definition. So they're unexpected, and they can have potentially devastating results. So you want to have a plan. You're absolutely right.
Oh yeah. So what do you put in an emergency kit, and should you have more than one of these?
Another excellent question. What goes into an emergency kit are those items that you would need to be able to survive for 72 hours. So if you think about it, you need to have food. Water is probably one of the most critical things, and that's also one of the heaviest things that goes into your 72-hour kit. You need to have 1 gallon of water per day per person. So
Does that include pets?
no, not. Depends on the size of your pets. If they're small pets, no. A pet preparedness kit's a little bit different, but you need like I said, 1 gallon of water per day per person. You need to have food for each one of those days. You should have clothing. You need to have some tools, some small hand tools, a knife, maybe a screwdriver, and that type of little odds and ends. You have to have a radio. And if you have a radio, you have to have batteries for that radio. Similarly, a flashlight. Now there are commercially available devices that are combination radios and flashlights, and they're crank. You can crank them up, so you don't have to worry about the batteries as much. You should have other things, matches. You should have some type of rain repellent sheeting. You should, depending on the clothing, let me touch on that again. You should have at least 1 change of clothing. And the clothing is probably one of the most important things to swap out of your 72-hour kit. Because if you pack your 72-hour kit in the summertime, your tendency is to put in lightweight clothing. If you don't need it until wintertime, those lightweight pieces of clothing are not always ideal. So you want to be able to go back in and you swap that out. You have to have basic first aid equipment, a poncho or rain gear for each individual. And then you need some sanitation equipment. You should have a trash bag or 2, toilet paper. You should have some pins, some safety pins, just little odds and ends that can come in very handy in an event. You can find an entire list of what goes into your 72-hour kit on that fhready.org or any of the associated links that you would find on that page. All of these things would go into a backpack or similar type of carrying case. To get to your second question, how many should you have? Ideally, each individual in your household has their own 72-hour, I call it a 72-hour kit. Other places will call it a ready kit or a go kit. The state of California is probably the best prepared in terms of ready kits because they have earthquakes, and that shuts everything down, and their public health agencies have done a great job of getting this information out so people have them. These are also commercially available. You can buy it and it will have everything in it except for your personal items. And then one of the common questions, and Allison has heard this talk about this at the EPC meetings, one of the common questions is, well, why do I need to put all this stuff into a bag? I have all of those things, but they're all in my home. Well, at the time an emergency happens, and they're not going to happen at the best point in your life at the best time. They're going to happen at night and so on and so forth. If it's dark, the power goes out, you know that kit's in your closet. You can go right to that kit and you have everything in one place. There's no searching for the batteries well, I know I have a flashlight around here someplace and I know I have batteries. No, everything's in the kit. The other scenario, which is very unlikely but can happen, and to our south, the city of Romulus had a large chemical fire a couple of years ago in which people were evacuated out of their homes, and they take them to a relocation center, a shelter. And I remember the news people putting a camera and a microphone in the faces of these people who have just been evacuated. Well, what are you going to do? And they say, I don't know. I don't have anything. We're just here. Well, one of the reasons that you have your ready kit in a bag is that you can grab it and head out the door. And if you end up in a shelter while they will eventually provide you with all of those things, you have them right there. In a little, we always say, particularly if you have younger siblings, we would encourage you to take along a deck of cards, maybe a small book, something that you can do to entertain yourself while you're sitting in that shelter waiting for that threat to clear. So those ready kits can really provide you a lot of personal comfort as well as having your needs met.
So instead of having those people say, well, I have nothing anymore, I don't know what I'm going to do, they can say, oh, I have a 72-hour kit. I'm good for 72 hours.
Yeah, sounds good. So,
and it's the key to all of our preparations in this country are predicated on the ability, on the need for our citizens to be able to take care of themselves for 72 hours. So, I mean, that point needs to be driven home that we can all do it. Okay, we might not have the internet and we might not have, some of the other things that we...
We're die.
And like if you have a cell phone, one of the things you want in your ready kit is a charger.
Yes.
So if you have the ability to charge it, because you need that communication plan, how are you going to get a hold of somebody if your phone is dead? So there's things like that you just want to plan ahead.
Yeah. So why should teens get involved in planning for emergencies?
Well, I've always been a big believer in if you're involved in the planning stage of it, then you'll be much better in the execution stage as well. So if, let's say, I'm preparing with my family in the event that we have a household fire, well, what do we do after that? So if I'm involved in the planning, I'll know where everything is, where the fire extinguisher is, where we're going to meet if it's no longer possible to just extinguish the fire, things of that nature. If I don't know where we're going because I wasn't involved in the planning stage, then I'm a lot less likely to get there.
What are some good web pages teens can go to for emergency preparedness information?
A lot of different places. I would, again, go back to that fhready.org, which is our page here in the city of Farmington Hills for the EPC. And there's actually a link there that says links, and it has a whole series of governmental links. Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA, the American Red Cross. All of those have great information, and then there's the one that's ready.org that summarizes it, and there's another one that just started, and we've been talking a lot about it on the EPC, which is do, D-O, the number one, the word thing.org, doonething.org. And the beauty of that page is that it gives you in little small exercises that you can do in 20 minutes once a month, suggestions on some things that you as teens and also as a family do to prepare yourselves for the potential emergencies. And by the time you finished a year, if you do a little something every month, at the end of 1 year, you're prepared for all the major types of emergencies that might affect us.
Oh, yeah.
Also, we've been focusing a lot on the roles of the older sibling. Well, that's not to say that the younger siblings just sit there and do nothing. So it's entirely possible that your elder sibling can not know what exactly to do if they weren't as involved in the planning as you were, like they probably should have. Then that's not to say that the younger sibling shouldn't just sit there and wait for the older sibling to snap out of it. No, you can help lead your older sibling as well, get them moving again and get them out.
Great point. You can also help your parents, who many times it's the parents they may not be aware of things. As an aside, all of our houses have smoke detectors in them. That initiative started 20-some years ago, was aimed at kids, and they made kids aware of how serious a fire can be, and smoke detection, the benefits of early detection, and kids really pushed that. And then now we've got an entire our generations now, of course we have smoke detectors in our houses. And the fire service actually pushed that through by going to the youth and educating the youth, who then in turn educated their parents and said, why don't we have smoke detectors? So to your point, Allison, it's a great one. You can play a big role in it by raising your family's awareness.
Oh, yeah. So do you guys have anything else to add?
Well, I'd mainly add that for any viewers who have any questions or comments or just want to know more about maybe the Emergency Preparedness Commission or how to get involved in their community, that they should really maybe come to the meetings. They're public, they're always open. We love welcoming any questions or concerns that the public may have.
Oh, yeah.
And I would add, just keying off of those comments, is that at most of the major events that happen in the community, things like the Farmington Founders Festival, the various events, we just had Healthy Living not too long ago, the EPC usually has a presence there to hand out that information. So if people have questions, they can also attend those events and really get involved. In the event of an emergency, we depend on each other. And it's very important that we all make preparedness a part of our day. And it's really a mindset. We're here to help you do that.
Well, thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Ken Massey, and thank you, Allison Rich.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Thanks
for
to the
having
viewers
us.
for watching.